So tell me, Ron, how long did you work at Glasgow's 20th Century Movies?
I worked at 20th Century Movies for about 5 years. I joined there straight from school, starting in the Sucky Street branch, which eventually shut down, and I was moved, fortunately, to the main branch up in Queen Margaret Drive, which every day I used to pass the BBC or as you cross the Kelvin Bridge there, not knowing that one day I'll be working for the BBC, but that was a long time in the future. But 1968, I think, was the day I started in 20th Century Movies.
What did you learn in there?
What I didn't learn was how to sell, but what I did learn was how to look after a film library, because being a photographic shop, so cameras, projectors and all sorts of accessories, photographic accessories, but one thing I wasn't good at was selling, and I hated it with a passion. But I was with cameras. Photography was an interest to me. I had an ambition eventually, maybe in the distant future, to get into television, but that was way in the future. But because I worked in the film library at 20th Century Movies, this is pre-video, of course, back then. If you wanted to watch a film, you either bought it, Super 8, Standard 8 or 16mm, or hired it. And we had a huge big film library, which we used to hire out to, particularly busy at Christmas time, and used to make up cartoons for all the kids' parties that were going on at Christmas time. Even hiring out projectors, 60mm projectors, even going and showing the cartoons sometimes. So yeah, that was fun. Remember the old Bell and Howell projectors? Yeah, we used to assemble all the cartoons. There used to be four reels of cartoons, show them the cartoons, and that was the highlight of the kids' parties. But it taught me how to run a film library, be organised, look after things. It was a good grounding for me, which would be a good grounding in the future.
When I went into the Super 8 sound, I discovered to my cost the 18 frame difference between, you know, the sync of the sound was 18 frames ahead of itself, and that was a nightmare.
I know, yeah, when you threaded up a projector, you had to make sure you had the loop the right size over the sound drum, otherwise the film would be out of sync by, you know, a few seconds, and that's very distracting. It's very distracting.
Was that a good foundation for getting into television itself?
Now, I got into television. This was one of these situations where I knew somebody who knew somebody else and just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And I was informed by this person that they knew of a job coming up at STV in the film library. And that was quite interesting because, as I said already, it was working in a film library. I knew how to run a film library, and I thought, I'll just apply for this. So I wrote off, no emails then, wrote off a letter and applied for the job even before it was advertised, explained what I did, my background, etc. And lo and behold, I got an interview for the job. In fact, I got 2 interviews for the job. Went back the following week and did another interview with somebody higher up in STV. And I remember Tom, the commissionaire, said to me when I was sitting there for the second time, he said, "You've been here before, son, haven't you?" I said, "Yes." "Oh, you must bear me a good chance then," he said. And he was right, because it must have been a week later, back in 20th Century Movies, the girl who was taking telephone calls waved to me and said, "That's STV on the phone," because she knew what was going on. So I took the call out, surreptitiously out in the front shop, and was told by the John Payton, the personnel manager, that I'd got the job in the film library, and that was the start. I was in the building. I got into television through working in the film library in STV, and I worked there for several years.
And what kind of programming did you work on?
Well, I started in STV in 1973 in the film library, and it took me several years of applying for jobs. What was great about it was the fact I was in the building, and I used to pass the studios every day and have a look at the cameras, etc. Because I used to go to STV when I was a wee boy and watch shows being recorded and broadcast live on some occasions, and that's where that interest came from. And but now I'm in the building, I'm passing the studio every day, and I'm watching all these shows, and that was it. I wanted to become a cameraman even more. So it was just by speaking to the cameraman and chatting away to them, even though I worked in the film library. I used to go down maybe in the afternoon and watch them rehearsing the news show. Eventually they would let me rehearse the news show. They would be with me, and eventually they would disappear at the pub and let me rehearse the show. And they would come back, of course, they could do it in their sleep. I'd marked up the running order for them. And then one day, still working in the film library, I applied for the job a few times by this time, not got there. Jimmy Stewart, the senior cameraman, said to me, "Would you like to do the show?" To which my jaw dropped to the floor. And what do you say? No, of course. But he let me do the show, and it was quite a busy wee show as well, because those are the days when any captions were on a black card with white letters set. They weren't done electronically back then, so you had to swing the camera into a caption stand, point at a caption, frame up, it was taken and back round again. So a lot to do, not like the days of automation we have these days. And I remember very well, it came off that programme about 6:30, and it's as if I'd just been in the shower. I was completely drenched in perspiration, but what an exciting moment that was for me. I'd actually done a programme as a cameraman, worked in the film library, and it was because of that. A lot of people had gone upstairs when I was applying for the job eventually and said, "You've got to give the guy a job." Why is that? Well, he's doing it at the moment. So eventually I was told I got the job, and that was it. Unfortunately, I was told I got the job at the end of 1979. That was fine. But the following week, the entire ITV network went on strike for about quite a few months. So my arrival in the camera department was somewhat delayed. But eventually I started.
Now, camera work is taking it all around the world, recently to the World Cup in Russia.
Yes, it's when I went freelance, it gave me the opportunity to see a bit of the world. I managed to find myself on the host broadcasting crew on now 5 World Cups. It started in 2002 in Japan, which was fabulous, a country I'd probably never have got to visit ever. And I've done 5 World Cups now. As you say, Russia was the last one in 2018. Again, a country I probably would never have got to if I wasn't in this job. And working for the host broadcaster, 2 teams from UK, 2 from France, 2 from Germany, all get together and form the host broadcaster outfit, which provides the pictures to the entire world. So it doesn't matter what channel you're watching on, the actual game is provided by the host broadcasting crew. And I've actually done, in 2014, I've actually done a World Cup final, which, I mean, you can't get any better than that. A World Cup final, that's a peak now. It can go no higher than that.
Now, doing the World Cup final, well, what camera are you on at this time? Do you remember?
Yes, I've every World Cup I've done one of the many super slow cameras. That's a camera that runs at a different frame rate and slows down the action. You've probably seen it many times, so you can see all the fouls, hopefully the ball going into the back of the net, all in super slow motion.
So are you following the shots with your camera? Mm-hmm. You're following the players all the time on a kind of semi-sight shot? It must be quite tricky. The
secret of doing super slow-mo is if you can follow the action as tight as you can, it makes for a more dramatic shot. And there was one incident in 2002 just prior, it was a Champions League final just prior to the World Cup. I was on the reverse angle on the other side, super slow-mo, it's purely for replays, and Zinedine Zidane got the ball, took it on the volley and kicked it into the back of the net. Now, when the guy takes it on the volley, you're not really prepared for it, you expect him to take it down and then kick it, but I got the ball and he took it on the volley and I followed it into the back of the net, and it was one of those golden moments that I want to treasure forever.
The shot of the year.
It was pure luck, I have to say, but it's just one of those moments where it all worked. If you can follow that ball really tight, it makes for a great replay.
You are also the DOP, or you're one of the DOPs on BBC's River City. Do you get to choose a kit and what you're using now?
No, the BBC decide what kit we're using. We can suggest things, certainly, and advise them, but generally speaking, we're tied into what the BBC budget allows us to have. And we now have a reasonable, we're using F7s at the moment, and they're really good cameras. And the BBC are the ones that provide all that. We have really no say in the matter at the end of the day. It's all down to money, as it always is.
And is it Is it HD or at 4K you're running?
Everything is on HD now. We could do 4K, but BBC don't transmit it in 4K, of course. So no, I'm one of a few. I'm not the only DOP. I'm one of a few DOPs down there, and that's something that has developed my television career, going from operating a camera, which I still do, into lighting, which was something I hadn't really done up until maybe 10, 12 years ago. But I'm now enjoying it. It's another string to my bow, if you like, and it's good fun.
You're going live on Johnson Radio. How did you get from camera work to radio?
Radio is something that I've always been interested in as well. I started off in a hospital broadcasting service in Paisley many years ago, playing requests for patients. And it's a voluntary setup, and they worked in the studios there, presenting programmes. So that kind of worked in tandem with my television career. I even went to work part-time at Radio Clyde back in the mid-70s, helping produce the Saturday afternoon shows. But television was always a thing I was going to go into, and I still do radio, as you can see in the background. I'm just about to do an online radio show. That's the thing now. A lot of radio is online now. You can listen to hundreds and hundreds of stations online now, and I actually do it from my house, which is great. I've got my wee studio here. It's purely a hobby, and it's good fun. The Ron Seeth Nostalgia Show. Hello. Was it the Valentine's? Once again. Yes. That's me talking.
Nothing out there could ever stop me from chasing after the way you love me, keeping me up 2 cups of coffee. Baby, you make me feel so lovely. I keep on running, no, I should've wanted a
And a very good morning to you. Welcome to the Nostalgia Show with myself, Ron Seeth. Thank you for your company. And we're running a special competition throughout the next couple of weeks on Johnston Sound. You could have a chance to win 12 red roses for Valentine's Day. Well,